All right, good morning, everyone. The numbers are slowing down on the participants list. I'd like to welcome you to the fifth day and final day of the Grant Support Technical Assistance Workshop for 2024. My name is Dr. Lynn Elliston Giddings, and I have been privileged to be a part of this team run by our admin ops department here, or division here at NIFA. And they have worked tirelessly to bring this to you. So I'd like to take a minute to thank them. So a quick note, so everyone's aware, this session's being recorded and it'll be accessible to the public on our website, which is found at nifa.usda.gov. We ask that you please submit all of your questions in writing through our Q&A box rather than the chat box. A couple reasons for that: we can track them, they're recorded there, and we can use them as feedback for further assistance in the future. So the Q&A session will go consistently throughout the presentations today, and we will also have a session at the end. So again, thank you for joining us to learn about writing applications and managing your awards. To kick us off today, we have Dr. Suzanne Sluka. She's the Deputy Director for the Office of Grants and Financial Management, and she's going to be providing some opening remarks. Dr. Sluka?
Thanks so much, Lynn. Again, I extend my welcome and thanks to you all for attending, as Lynn mentioned, the fifth and final day of our USDA NIFA Grant Support Technical Assistance Workshop. I am Suzanne Sluka, and my role at NIFA is the Deputy Director for the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition, and we work on priorities related to keeping the food supply safe and advancing food and nutrition security. When I reflected on what to highlight during this welcome, I thought about how less than 4 years ago, I was sitting in your role. For 15 years, I worked at smaller land-grant universities where I was continuously writing grants to support extension, education, and research activities. I remember just how important these types of workshops were to me in that role. They gave me the confidence to know that I could prepare applications and could compete on a national level. What I found most valuable to my participation in these events was actually the connection to NIFA staff. I encourage you to reach out, get to know us and our staff, make that personal connection. There are so many others at NIFA just like me who have sat in your roles. So I just really wanted to lift up that support and understanding that we have for each and every one of you. We know just how many hours, we know the late nights that went into being able to hit that submit button, and then the celebration that takes place when you receive that email confirmation that your grant application went through. We also understand the joys of being notified that your project has been funded. And I understand the emotions that you go through when finding out perhaps that you just didn't get awarded this year. So again, all of us here at NIFA are here for you across that entire trajectory. And that is why we are thrilled to bring you the workshops this week. Now, I want to mention that today's workshop is especially important as it highlights how you get to share your activities, products created, and outcomes through our NIFA reporting platforms once you have received that funding. This step is so critical in helping NIFA and USDA to track progress toward our national goals. And by reporting your outcomes, you also inspire others to take action. Measurement and reporting is so important. And I assure you that we at NIFA are using the information that you provide in these reports on a daily basis. And so I'm excited for you to learn more today about how you can report and how that impact makes a difference and how it gets shared with us. Because the solutions, the innovations, they're all found within the work that you're doing as our external partners and audiences. Again, that is you. Your voice, your expertise, it's so vital as we engage in research, education, and extension work together. And I am so excited to see the new paths that you are forging ahead in and the reporting and how you share your stories. I would be remiss without thanking our USDA NIFA staff who have put in many hours behind the scenes leading up to the presentations that are being shared with you all today and throughout the rest of the week. They are invested in helping all of you to succeed in your grant efforts. So we are honored to have your attendance during these webinars, and we look forward to helping to advance your technical knowledge. Please do reach out to us. We are here for you. Thank you and have a great training. And I'll turn it back to Lynn.
Thank you, Dr. Sluka, and thank you for your personal aspect and perspective on this in your valuable remarks. The theme for today's workshop is reporting and related topics. First up, we're going to go over some REEport content connections, the building blocks of accomplishment. And for that, we're going to have Laura Packman present to you. Thanks. Laura?
Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Packman, and I am a program analyst within the NIFA Planning, Accountability, and Reporting staff. Last year at the 2023 grant workshop, my colleague provided a REEport basics presentation that gave a high-level overview of the reporting required in the REEport application. Today, we will be digging a little deeper into the content connections across the required reports in REEport, with a focus on the quality of accomplishment reporting. Next slide, please. During this presentation, we'll cover what REEport is and how NIFA monitors report submissions. We will review the report content connections across the required reports in REEport and provide detailed guidance on accomplishment reporting, which includes how to share your project's impact story. In addition, we'll share how NIFA uses REEport data and share some REEport resources. Next slide, please. The Research, Extension, and Education Project Online Reporting Tool, also known as REEport, is the primary grant reporting application for NIFA-funded competitive grant projects. It is a NIFA grant reporting application that collects both technical and financial data for NIFA competitive grant projects and allows grantees to report significant accomplishments and impacts of their work. The inputs include the initial project documentation, technical reporting, and financial reporting. The progress and final reports are where grantees report their accomplishments. The data entered into REEport becomes publicly available, and we use this data to respond to congressional and other inquiries, so it is important to provide complete and accurate information when submitting reports in REEport. Next slide, please. NIFA program staff are responsible for reviewing the technical submissions in REEport, which include the project initiation, progress reports, and final report. NIFA staff have 90 days after submission to review and, if necessary, request edits on submitted progress or final reports. If edits are required, the project director will receive a call or email request explaining the necessary updates from NIFA program staff. Please note that edits cannot be made in the project initiation module after the project initiation has been submitted to NIFA. If a correction is necessary on the project data, a project change must be completed and submitted to NIFA in the project change module in REEport. Next slide, please. When reviewing the REEport submissions, NIFA staff look for progression across your reports, your impact story, and the quality of your content. The content of your submissions should build over the life of the project. Your project's life cycle in REEport begins with the project initiation. Then you report on the project progress in both the progress and final reports. In your progress and final report submissions, you will provide your impact story, where you describe the outcomes and impact of your project work. Throughout your report and responses, your responses should be accurate, written in simple and direct language, and supported by data. We will cover these elements in more detail as we discuss the content connections across the forms in REEport. Next slide. Next, we'll walk through those content connections in REEport. Next slide. In REEport, project reporting goes through a progression from project initiation to progress report to final report. The project initiation is where you describe what you plan to accomplish. The progress reports are where you report what you accomplished during the individual project year. And the final report is where you describe what you accomplished over the duration of the project. The content of these reports should build upon one another, and your responses should reflect the progress of your project work over the life of the project. Next slide. In REEport, for each form type, the user completes all of the required form content pages. On this slide, you can see the form page names that fall under each form type for project initiation, progress report, and final report forms. For example, under project initiation, you can see that the first page of the report form is the cover page, and the second form page is the participants page. The progress report and final report forms have the same format and same required fields, but different reporting periods. In the project initiation, there are separate pages for goals, outcomes, summary, keywords, and classification that are not repeated in the progress and final reports. Next slide. This slide summarizes the report content connections between the project initiation and the progress reporting that is completed in the progress and final reports. On this slide, the project initiation content pages are listed in the larger light blue boxes, and the progress and final report content pages are listed in the smaller dark blue boxes. In the project initiation, the expected participants, expected audience, and expected products are reported. And in the progress and final reports, the actual participants, actual target audience, and actual products are reported. In the far right box, you can see that the project initiation includes separate content pages for the goals, outcomes, methods, and summary of the project. And in the progress and final reports, the accomplishments page is where you report what you accomplished based on those goals, outcomes, and methods that were outlined in your project initiation. In addition to the content pages that are listed in the figure, keywords and classification are only reported in the project initiation stage. And there is a content page that is unique to the progress and final reports called the changes or problems page. This is where grantees report any changes or problems that occurred in the reporting period. Next slide, please. Next, we'll review in more detail how the project initiation content feeds into the accomplishment reporting in the progress and final reports. In the project initiation, you are asked to describe the goals, outcomes, and methods of your project. In these responses, you will describe the overarching project goals and objectives, the expected outcomes that relate to those goals and objectives, and the planned effort and evaluation methods for your project. In addition, in the project initiation, you are asked to summarize your project, and your response should be a summary of the issues, planned methods, and ultimate goals and outcomes of the project. These content elements in the project initiation are the basis for accomplishment reporting that is completed in the progress and final reports. On the accomplishments page in those progress and final reports, you are asked to describe what was accomplished under the goals that you listed in the project initiation. When responding to this question, you will write your impact story. The impact story should include the issue the project addressed, the project work that addressed that issue, the outcomes of your project work, and the impact of your project work and outcomes. In the progress report, you are reporting the accomplishments for one project year. And in the final report, you are reporting the accomplishments over the life or duration of the project. Next slide. Next, we will discuss the elements of the impact story that you'll provide when completing your accomplishment reporting. Next slide. The first and most important question on the accomplishments page in the progress and final reports is what was accomplished under these goals. This is where you write the impact story of your project. NIFA defines accomplishments as the outcomes and impacts achieved as a result of the project and the results that led to the outcomes and impacts. This response field is where you will describe the issue the project addressed, the project work that addressed the issue, the outcomes of your project work, and the impact of your project work. Please note that a simple listing of project activities is not a satisfactory response in this field. Next slide. To understand how to write your impact story on the accomplishments page, we need to talk about how outputs, outcomes, and impact relate. Next slide. Outputs are the activities, events, services, publications, and other scientific products that result from your efforts. These products can include a wide variety of activities, including experiments, surveys, teaching, facilitating, or mentoring. Events may include conferences, field days, or other organized event activities. Services may include consulting or counseling provided as part of the project. And publications include any published material that resulted from the project work, such as journal articles, books, or conference abstracts. There are many types of scientific products that may result from your project work, such as methods or techniques, patents, or models. These outputs are all reported on the products and other products pages in the progress and final reports. Next slide. Outputs lead to project outcomes. An outcome is defined as a measurable and documented change in knowledge, action, or condition as a result of the project. Outcomes relate directly to the project objectives and are supported with quantitative data. They are often described as increases or decreases, signifying a quantitative change, and they usually describe the short to medium term effects of your project work. The change that resulted from the project work is the outcome, and it is an essential element in your project's impact story. As shown on this slide, examples, these changes may relate to a variety of project objectives, and they describe a quantitative change that resulted from the project work. Next slide. The impact explains why those outcomes matter. The impact is often focused on how these changes impact individuals, groups, or parts of society. The impact is the long-term effect and ultimate goal of the project. When you think about impact, you want to think about how people are impacted by the outcomes of your project work. Next slide. In the first response field on the accomplishments page, you will describe what was accomplished during the reporting period in simple layman's terms. It is important to include the 4 elements listed on this slide. The goal of this response is to describe the impact of your project outcomes for the reporting period of the report. Using plain, non-technical language, you should convey your impact story, which should include all 4 elements on this slide. First, you should include the relevance of your project. This is where you state the issue that your project was created to address. Second, you should describe your response to that issue. This is where you should describe what project work was done to address that issue and any findings of that project work. Third, you should describe the outcomes or measurable changes that occurred as a result of the project work. And last, you should explain who or what was impacted or potentially impacted by the outcomes of your project work. This response should state why the outcomes of your project work matter. Next slide, please. Next, we'll review 2 examples of accomplishment reporting that cover all 4 of the key elements of an impact story. In this example, the work completed, the outcome or measurable change and impact are listed first. Then the relevance or issue is stated. This example includes all 4 of the key elements of an impact story. The issue the project was created to address is that commercial wheat varieties had a non-functional copy of the GPC gene, which suggested the gene was lost in the domestication of wheat and decreased the nutritional value of commercial wheat. To reintroduce the GPC gene into commercial wheat, the researchers cloned a gene from wild wheat. This is the response or project work that was performed to address the issue. The outcome of that project work was an increase in the protein, zinc, and iron content in the grain. And the impact of that outcome is that it provides a solution to nutritional deficiencies that affect many children around the world. Next slide. This second example also includes all 4 of the key elements of an impact story. The issue the project was created to address is the amount of nitrogen contamination of ground and surface water and the potential for cover crops to reduce that contamination significantly. To determine which cover crops reduce nitrogen contamination of ground and surface water most effectively, the researchers conducted field experiments to test the effect of 4 cover crops on nitrogen recycling. These field experiments and their results are the project work that was performed to address the issue. As a result of those field experiments, the researchers identified a crop with high capacity to recycle nitrogen. This is the outcome of their project work. And the impact of that outcome is that it improved the environmental quality, human health, and farmers' income by reducing nitrogen leaching in ground and surface water. Next slide. When describing your accomplishments, we suggest that you write for a broad audience and use general terms. Explain things simply and directly. Use quantitative values or trends to validate your impact. Describe the change in knowledge, action, or condition, otherwise known as your outcomes. And remember that most people who read these reports are not technically trained or educated in your field of expertise. So you should write in a manner that is meaningful to all readers, including stakeholders, USDA administration, and Congress. Next slide. After submitting your data in REEport, you might wonder how that data is used. Next slide. REEport data is evidence of your project work and describes the value of your efforts. It is made publicly available through the NIFA Data Gateway. In the NIFA Data Gateway, the public can view projects by the standard search categories listed on this slide, or search the gateway for specific project information. The standard search categories include recent awards, award trends, and searches by congressional district, subject of investigation, field of science, and knowledge area. The report data is accessible in the NIFA Data Gateway within 1 to 2 business days after you submit the information to NIFA in REEport. The Data Gateway is accessible under the Data section on the NIFA webpage. For more information on how to use the search functions available in the Data Gateway, please revisit the Introduction to NIFA Data Gateway video tutorial that was shared on day 1 during this week's grant workshop. In addition to public access, our NIFA communication staff used your data in media outreach, briefing memos, reports, speeches, and more. They share the impacts of your work with many NIFA stakeholders on a daily basis. Report data is also provided by NIFA in response to congressional inquiries and data requests. Next slide. Last, we'll cover how to access our REEport resources. Next slide. You can find our REEport tool webpage on the NIFA website, nifa.usda.gov. You can also use the QR code on this slide to access our main webpage. To access the report page, select the data section in the top menu bar and click on the report tool under the report header. Next slide. The primary resources for REEport are the REEport user guide, REEport frequently asked questions, and REEport help desk. The user guide contains instructions on how to access, navigate, and submit reports. It covers project initiation, progress reports, final reports, and financial reports. The REEport Facts is a web page with on-screen answers to the most frequently asked questions about the REEport application. If you have any questions that are not answered in the REEport user guide or REEport Facts, please email the REEport help desk at electronic@usda.gov. Next slide. And again, in addition to the webpage and instructional resources, please always reach out to our REEport help desk if you have any REEport related questions at electronic@usda.gov. With that, that's the end of our content connections presentation. And Lynn, do you want me to hand it back to you briefly, or should I just continue on?
I was just going to ask you to continue on since you are such a wealth of information for all the mysteries that are REEport. So if you could just continue on, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Laura.
Absolutely. Next up, as an additional follow-up to last year's REEport overview presentation, NIFA staff developed this troubleshooting guide for REEport project initiations. REEport is NIFA's primary grant reporting application for competitive grant projects, and the project initiation form is the initial project documentation that grant recipients complete in REEport. During this presentation, we'll be covering the most common issues that project directors encounter when completing their REEport project initiation, and we'll cover how to troubleshoot those. Next slide. We will cover the following troubleshooting scenarios, including when you cannot locate your project in REEport, when you are unable to open the project initiation form, when you cannot edit certain fields in REEport, when you have REEport content questions, and when your form appears to be stuck in the pending submission folder. Next slide. First, we'll review how to troubleshoot when you cannot locate your project in REEport. Next slide. The first common question that we receive about the project initiation process is regarding when the project initiation form is available in REEport. There are a few preliminary steps that must occur before your project initiation will appear in REEport. These steps are performed by NIFA staff and, if applicable, the REEport site administrators at your organization. First, the application must be in recommended status in the NIFA grants management system. The creation of the project initiation form in REEport is dependent on the award data in the NIFA grants management system, and the project initiation will not appear available in REEport until the award data is updated by NIFA staff. NIFA staff are responsible for this preliminary step. Second, an additional step is required if your organization has more than one REEport management site. This action is performed by the REEport site administrators at your organization. If this is the case, the project director receives an initial email with the email subject line, "Alert, new project for a competitive proposal you are associated with has been loaded into REEport." There's a very long email alert subject line, but it does convey the information. This alert indicates that the project initiation will not be available until project site assignment occurs, and the site administrators receive an email requesting that same action. The REEport site administrators are responsible for this second potential preliminary step. When the project initiation is available in REEport, the project director will receive an email notification with the subject line, "NIFA grant proposal action required in REEport." So remember that even if you receive an initial alert email, it will not be available until you receive this final alert email saying action is required in REEport. Next slide. If you have not received the NIFA grant proposal action required in REEport email, and NIFA staff have indicated that you should have access in REEport, please contact our REEport help desk at electronic@usda.gov to check on the status. We will coordinate with the NIFA program staff to ensure all required preliminary steps have been completed in the NIFA's grant management system. If you have received the NIFA grant proposal action required in REEport and you do not see the project initiation in REEport, you may be logging in under the incorrect REEport user account. The email address that is listed on the grant application is automatically established as your account username. If you apply for multiple grants and list different email addresses on those grant applications, you will have multiple user accounts under each separate email address. The project initiation is only accessible under the email address that is listed on that grant application. If you have multiple accounts, you must log in under the correct account to access the project initiation or request an email address update so that all of your grant projects show under the same user account. Please contact our REEport help desk at electronic@usda.gov if you have any questions regarding your account access. Next slide. Access to the project initiation is limited to the primary project director, authorized organizational representative, and REEport site administrators. Please note that REEport site administrators only exist for partner sites in REEport. Partner sites are identified by a prefix in front of their organization name, such as SAES for State Agricultural Experiment Station, 1890 for 1890 Land Grant Universities, FRST for Forestry Schools, EXT for Extension Programs, and VET for Veterinary Schools. If the organization name has no prefix in your REEport application, your project is assigned to an independent site in REEport. If your project is managed under an independent site, only the primary project director and AOR will have access to the required reporting in REEport. The primary PD and AOR must use the exact email address that is listed on the grant application to access REEport. Again, that email address is automatically established as their login name for their user account. Please note that co-PDs do not have access to REEport. If their input is required, the primary PD and AOR must coordinate with them. To request a PD or AOR change, see the instructions and necessary documentation on page 3 of the NIFA Grant Management Fact document. To request a PD or AOR email address update, contact our awards@usda.gov inbox or the NIFA staff listed on your award. Next slide. Next, we'll cover how to troubleshoot when you are unable to open or edit the project initiation form. One of the most common questions we receive in the REEport help desk is from project directors that have opened the view-only PDF in REEport instead of opening the editable on-screen form. In REEport, the PDF available in the View column on the far right side of this slide is a read-only document. It is not the editable report form. To open the editable form on screen, you must click on the project title, which is hyperlinked in the draft folder, which is shown at the center of this screenshot. Please remember that all updates must be made in the electronic form. The PDF form and copy is view only and not editable. Next slide. Next, we'll cover how to troubleshoot when you are unable to edit certain fields in the project initiation form. On the cover page and participants page, some fields are pre-populated with data from your application that was submitted to grants.gov and are not editable in REEport. If any of these fields are incorrect, please email our REEport help desk at electronic@usda.gov. When sending this alert and request, please include the proposal number, field names, and correct data. Please note that the fields on these pages include the primary project director, authorized organizational representative, and co-project directors that are listed on the grant application. Please note that additional documentation and a formal request is required to update any of those individual roles, but you may still contact our help desk for further guidance in those cases. If the keywords page is blank on your project initiation, an update to the originally submitted application data must be made before you can submit the project initiation. If keywords are not found in REEport, please email our help desk at electronic@usda.gov. And when sending that request, include the proposal number and a list of your suggested keywords for your project. Next slide. Next, we'll cover how to troubleshoot when you have a specific content question. Next to every field in the form, there is a hyperlinked small blue box with a question mark or a more ellipses hyperlink. Clicking on one of those options will provide on-screen guidance on how to complete that particular field. For more detailed instructions, please refer to the project initiation section in the REEport user guide. If you have content-related questions after reviewing the guidance on screen and in the user guide, please contact NIFA program staff. Next slide. Next, we'll cover how to troubleshoot when your project initiation form appears to be stuck in the pending submission folder. If you've submitted your project initiation in REEport, but it remains in the pending submission to NIFA folder, this means that an internal review is required at your organization. REEport site administrators at your organization are responsible for reviewing your submission and then submitting the project initiation to NIFA. When submission to NIFA is successful, the project will move from the draft folder to the active projects folder. If you have any other submission questions, please again contact our REEport help desk at electronic@usda.gov. Next slide. And again, we want to share our REEport resources in case you didn't catch them in our last presentation. Next slide. To access the REEport tool webpage, navigate to nifa.usda.gov, our main webpage, or use the QR link on this slide to navigate there. On our webpage, please select the data section and click the REEport tool option under REEport. Next slide. Again, our primary resources for REEport are the REEport user guide, REEport frequently asked questions, and REEport help desk. The user guide contains instructions on how to access, navigate, and submit reports. It covers project initiation, progress reports, final reports, and financial reports. The REEport Facts is a web page with on-screen answers to the most frequently asked questions about the REEport application. And if you have any questions that are not answered in either of those resources, again, please reach out to our REEport help desk at electronic@usda.gov. Next slide. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback on any of our presentations today, please do reach out to our admin ops team here at NIFA, who've organized this great sessions this week at the workshops. Their contact email address is adminopsteam.nifa@usda.gov, and we appreciate any and all feedback that you have for us on the content of our presentations and topics this year. And with that, I'll hand it back to Lynn.
Awesome job, Laura. Thank you so much. Next up will be a brief presentation on federal policies and federal funds. And Susan Mahedon is going to be presenting for us. Susan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Mahedon. I am an external training and development specialist here in the Office of the Director. In this part of our workshop, I'm going to go over federal policies and federal funds. Next slide. Okay. Applicants receiving federal funds are required to follow federal policies guided by, you guessed it, federal laws. The NIFA Policy Guide is a central source of NIFA's administrative guidance for recipients of NIFA grants and partners in cooperative agreements. This link will take you to Appendix 1, which is the public policy requirements from the NIFA Policy Guide. It contains common policy requirements for all awards, but it is not an exhaustive list, and there might be additional requirements that you can find in your terms and conditions. Next slide. All right, so next I'm going to talk to you guys about regulatory approvals. The use of humans and animals in projects requires documentation from the appropriate authorities. If animals are involved in the grant, an institutional animal care and use committee, an IACUC, appointed by the chief executive officer or designee, is federally mandated to oversee the institution's animal program, facilities, and procedures. Grantees must have an approved animal welfare assurance on file with the Office of Laboratory Animal Welfare at the National Institutes of Health, NIH, at the time of award for all grantee organizations receiving federal support for research or related activities using live vertebrate animals. Grantees must also protect the rights and welfare of any human subjects involved in NIFA-sponsored research and related activities. An institutional review board must review all research proposals involving human subjects. NIFA does not provide these approvals, and NIFA will require that appropriate documentation is provided prior to processing awards. Next slide. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the responsible party for getting these regulatory approvals, which is the applicant. Now, your institution has appropriate committees to provide these services, but if you're not associated with an institution, there may be local or state agencies providing these services. Because getting approval can be a lengthy process, we do suggest that you contact your institution for time estimates. You may be able to submit your application to NIFA with your approval pending, but if recommended for funding, your award will be delayed if you are unable to provide proper documentation of approval. Once you have your approval in hand, you'll want to send it directly to the national program leader or grants management specialist assigned to your project. If there is an exemption that applies to you, the documents from the authorizing committee or agency should be provided to NIFA. Next slide. All right, so just real quickly, now that we've done our overview of federal policies and federal funds, I'd like to just briefly go over the USDA's non-discrimination statement. USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. This slide contains contact information for individuals with disabilities to request reasonable accommodations. Language access services will be provided to limited English proficient individuals upon request. And anyone who wishing to file a complaint can utilize the phone number, fax number, or postal mailing address listed on this slide. All right, and that is everything for me. I'll turn that back to Lynn.
Thank you so much for that valuable information, Susan. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Toombs to say a few words.
Good morning. I'm here trying to come off of mute. All right. I think I'm on now. And
Yes, ma'am.
okay, wonderful. Good morning to everyone. I am Dr. Dionne Toombs, Associate Director for Programs here at NIFA. And thank you for attending this workshop over the last 5 days to learn about NIFA grant opportunities, grant development, and grant management. Now, NIFA is the largest federal funder in the food and agriculture industry. And we awarded more than $2.5 billion last year in 2023. And we serve diverse stakeholders, including community-based organizations, small businesses, educational institutions, minority serving institutions, and land-grant universities. This year, we developed a unique agenda to address your needs. And Monday, we talked about assessing NIFA resources to write successful grant applications. And we hope you liked our new NIFA grant guidebook that was unveiled there. Tuesday, we talked about AFRI, our largest competitive grant program, our flagship, and addressed many of the questions we received last year from the workshop. And Wednesday, we addressed the needs of different stakeholder groups. We encourage you to explore partnership opportunities to help build capacity in food and agriculture. So please sign up for our funding opportunities announcements in real-time notifications in our weekly NIFA update e-newsletter on our NIFA website. And yesterday, we talked about grants management, and today we talked about reporting. And to facilitate coordinated training and to assess your needs in 2022, we started the Learning and Development Unit. And the Learning and Development team needs your input about the usefulness of these workshops, including suggestions for future grant opportunities and award technical assistance sessions. So before I close, I would like to take a moment to thank our wonderful staff who organized and participated in this event. And as you can see, we have a dedicated group of public servants. We are here to serve you and assist you with any questions that you may have. So please feel free to contact us. NIFA's largest remote workforce has staff members located throughout the nation. This means that no matter where in the United States you're located, there are NIFA staff members on duty during your work hours. Your attendance at this event is a visible reminder about the importance of NIFA funding and the need for such successful technical assistance activities to enhance access to federal grant programs. We look forward to seeing you all at our next stakeholder event. Thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Toombs, for those great words, and we appreciate you. You have a great weekend.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a special session that we're going to discuss some upcoming events that you may find of interest. Susan, if you'd like to come back on, please.
Sorry about that, my camera was being wonky. All right, so I'm just going to talk to you guys about a couple of things that we have going on here in the future from us and some of our partners. So first off, I'm going to talk briefly. This was actually mentioned on day one during the technical assistance events and resource presentation. So there are going to be 4 grant applicant awardee technical assistance sessions that we're calling them GATA throughout the year. We had one in January. You guys can actually view that recording on our website. This one that we're going to be talking about, though, this one's going to be on May 2nd. These types of events are publicly available virtual free events to provide support to our applicants and awardees. And this particular event is going to focus on the panel process and panel expectations. Next slide. All right. On this slide, you're going to see a QR code that will take you directly to the registration page for this event. The topic is demystifying the panel review process for grant funding. It's going to be a, excuse me, a 90-minute session on May 2nd of this year. And this is flyer you can also share with any colleagues or teammates that you would like. Next slide. Okay, so these are the topics that are going to be covered during this event for the GATA session. We're going to go over the purpose and function of a NIFA peer review panel, the roles and responsibilities of panelists, how to volunteer to be on a review panel. You can also submit questions to us to be addressed in the presentation. We ask that you submit those to us by April 20th. And then we're also going to have a live Q&A. We're not going to be focusing on program-specific questions, as this session is designed to address topics that are not related to any specific program. All right, next slide. Okay, so this is going to be on Zoom in a webinar mode, registration as required. And as a reminder, because this is a webinar, you are given a unique link for the meeting that is specific to your email address. And we do recommend that you do not share that with others. And like I mentioned on the other slide, you can submit questions to us to be talked about during, and those questions can be submitted actually through the registration. NIFA staff are going to be obviously presenting this, and they'll be clarifying any questions that are pre-submitted as well as answering the live Q&A. And the session will be recorded and uploaded onto our website afterwards. All right, next slide. So how can you help us? GATA sessions, we welcome and encourage feedback for these. So please register, share registration information with colleagues who may benefit. Once again, don't share your registration link, but have your colleagues get their own. Please suggest topics on grant development or grant management for future sessions. We'd love to hear from you for any kind of input you guys would like to provide. And once again, you can email the Learning and Development team at adminopsteam.nifa@usda.gov. The flyer, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, it was shared with you guys. These slides are all going to this will actually be on our website so you guys can see it, and can also directly register at this link there. All right, next slide. Just really quickly, now that we've discussed the GATA session, I'm going to go and do some other things that we wanted to share. First off is USDA career opportunities. Obviously here, if you would like to see any federal jobs that could be open with USDA, you can check us out at usajobs.gov. We also have an internship program and scholarship programs. If you want to check those out, you can see those links there. One is for a Pathways program, and the other is an 1890s National Scholarship Program. And then we also have a 1994 Tribal Scholarship Program. All right, next slide. All right, so this is an event that's being planned by the Federal Executive Board. They're calling this their campus series. It's a 4-session series. It's a focus on the federal application and hiring process. So if you've ever considered serving in the federal government, the series is going to be incredibly beneficial to you. All right, and next slide. All right. So here are the 4 sessions and the details about them. Session 1 is navigating USA jobs, finding and applying for federal jobs. It's going to be on Tuesday, April 2nd, so coming up very soon. And then the next session will be writing your resume for federal jobs. It's going to be April 9th. And then session 3 is interviewing for federal jobs. That will be April 11th. And the 4th session is Pathways Programs for Students and Recent Graduates, which is going to be April 18th. Next slide. All right, so this is just a little bit of information about the session. It's going to be a Zoom platform. Registration is required to join the webinar series. You want to make sure that you have access to audio for the webinar so that you can hear the speakers, and then closed captioning is going to be made available for all participants. So I hope you guys take advantage of those events. They will be highly beneficial if you have any interest in joining the federal government. All right, and Lynn, that is all for me. I'm going to pass it back to you.
Thanks so much, Susan. Sounds like we've got a full calendar coming up of ways in which we can help. All right, so we have a hand raised, and I'd really love, Jennifer, if you could please place your question into the Q&A so that it's then recorded in our transcript. I think that would be valuable going forward. Anyone else who has questions, please place them in the Q&A. We've gotten some really great feedback in the chat, and we appreciate the compliments. And we're glad that this was valuable for you. And I don't see any questions coming in. Do any of the other panelists have anything to share at this point on questions that you've already answered that you think the whole group might gain some knowledge from?
I can share a couple of them.
Thank you.
Yep, I received a question about the timing of the reports in REEport. So we covered progress reporting and final reporting extensively in our presentation. The progress reports are annual reports, and they're completed for every active project year, and they're due within 90 days after the anniversary of the start date of the project. So after each project year ends, within 3 months or 90 days after that date, those are due in the REEport system. And the final report is due within 120 days after the project end date. So you have a little bit longer to complete that final report because it's covering the duration of the project. We didn't speak to the financial reports in detail, but those financial reports in REEport are due for every federal fiscal year that the project is active, and they're due by February 1st, following the fiscal year. So that's the cadence of the reporting in REEport. I also got a question regarding the AOR listing and sometimes how the financial reports are completed by another staff member at your organization. For independent sites, REEport is limited to only allowing the project director and AOR or authorized organizational representative to access REEport. Some organizations do have to coordinate with their financial staff members to gather the necessary information to input into REEport, but unfortunately we cannot add additional financial users when it is assigned to an independent site in REEport. And I think there was one other question specific to REEport that I wanted to mention. Oh, there was a suggestion by one of our site administrators in REEport about an additional notification that would be helpful in our workflows. So I just wanted to say thanks to Jerry for that suggestion. I'll get back to you on whether we can add something like that in to ensure that site administrators know when something's been submitted for their review. Those are all the high level ones focused on REEport so far. And let me see, it looks like there's 2 open.
Yeah, one of them is asking what is the link for the resources
workshop
this week. Yeah, and actually the resources from 2023 are also available there. And so we'll get somebody to put that link in the chat if we could, please. And again, and I know we've said this over and over, and we're not going to stop saying it, your feedback is very, very valuable. Your feedback from last year is what informed our grants management workshop this year. So if you could please share your feedback, whether it be in the chat, whether it be in the QA, whether it be to the adminopsteam.nifa@usda.gov email, that's probably the most effective. Any way that you would like to share your feedback, and even if it's critical, we'll take it. And we just want to be better and take into account what our stakeholders need. So we can't do that unless you tell us.
Yes, so if you can click on the grants tab on the top, you can see the menu of technical assistance training page. Rebecca, can you please click? And if you click on that technical assistance training page, you will find all the resources that are done by us within last 2 years on this page. It includes 2023 resources, it includes 2024 resources, it includes our GATA sessions, and it includes resources with our partners that we do. And at the bottom of the page, there is a survey that we have added. The event code for the first question of the survey is 2024 Grant Support Technical Assistance Workshop. And you can choose that from the question 1 in the drop-down menu. And then please provide us your feedback. Your feedback is really important so that we can design our events that are based on your requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Neerja. And it seems like we've got a few people who are having trouble with the campus series. And Suresh, thank you for sharing the new link. I've also added that to the questions in the Q&A for those who are having that specific problem.
And that series is also accessible from this page from our partners. That's the last tab. I think our team is working behind the scene to get the page fixed. And so it will be accessible shortly if it's not now. Usually we get that broken link error when they're working behind the scenes and it's not live.
Great point, Neerja. This landing site that Neerja has up right now, I think maybe Becca's sharing it, but the landing site that's up right now is a wonderful launch page for all of the things that we've discussed this week, as well as last week and things going forward. So definitely want to bookmark this one. Do we have anything else? Admin ops team, where do we want to go now?
If there are no more questions, we can close the session and thank all of our participants for putting their time in to come to our events. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.